Yo guys, what is up? Max in our First Descendant video, and today we're going to be going over my guide to Dia. Now, if you did not know, Dia is the newest Descendant in Season 3, Episode 3. She is a chill Descendant that has one of the more unique playstyles that actually has, like, quite a bit of, like, kind of tricks that you can do to eke out more damage. She's not the, like, biggest AoE farmer. Like, she won't be competing with, like, Farina, for example, in AoE clear, but what she does do really well is she hits like a truck. Similar kind of to Viessa in my mind, except with a little bit higher burst damage. Dia can just like really pop elites and do a ton of different damage, and we've got a few different builds for you today, both in mobbing and bossing. Hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Let's do this. We'll start by going over her kit first, since she is a new Descendant. So her first ability, Glacial Clash, basically allows you to pull out your lance and hit enemies with it. It does an initial burst damage, and then as it continues, as you like channel it, it does a little bit lesser damage. This also inflicts Snowflake on targets, which can create an AoE damage explosion when they are hit. The next ability is Ice Wall. This is kind of a buff that she can upkeep. It does a burst of damage, but it also increases her skill critical hit damage. Her defense recovers health, and then also allows you to get extra movement speed in her first ability. Her third is Avalanche. This is a grouping ability that will tow enemies in. However, at the center of the grouping ability is kind of a sphere, and if you hit the sphere with your one, you will do a massive amount of burst damage. This is actually something that it takes a little bit of practice to start bursting this. You'll note that it is not the easiest thing to hit. So if we throw out this one, and then I chase this, there I didn't hit it. But there I did. And so there's a little bit of a trick to using her in terms of kind of doing that rotation. And that is to do this and then kind of double hit her one. Makes it pretty consistent to explode that. The only reason you want to explode that is because the burst on it is pretty insane and has good range. And then lastly, her fourth ability changes with her different Transcendent modules, but in general you just throw a Frozen Spire that does a bunch of damage. When it hits enemies, it'll stay in place and do AoE damage over time. Also pretty cool ability. Now, all of these abilities of Dia, her only real like weakness is that she doesn't have like the craziest AoE, and she also has very long cooldowns. For example, her grouping ability, which you'd want to have up all the time, is on a 60-second cooldown at base. Her fourth ability is on a 120-second base. And so one of the number one things we're going to be focusing on for her builds is cooldown, so that we can have really high uptime on her abilities. So for her first build, this is going to be her mobbing build. We're going to be rocking Blooming Ecstasy. The big thing that Blooming Ecstasy does is it transforms her one ability, or Snowflake on her abilities, to trigger the AoE explosions off of her ability damage, versus by default, you have to use a melee weapon to trigger Snowflake explosions. So that's just way better for us. It also transforms the fourth ability into a ability that you can channel and then cause a massive detonation. It even, basically almost triples the damage of her fourth ability as well, and so that's kind of going to be our focus, is with Blooming Ecstasy. Now, what we're using with this is we need to use Stim Accelerant. We need to get a fair bit of HP. Dia is really easy to crit cap. While you're holding a melee weapon, you get skill crit rate based off of your max HP to get the full bonus of this. Which we're not quite doing, because we can crit cap without it, without using 2 HP mods on. But like technically, I think it's around like 35,000 HP to get the full bonus of this. Her base crit's really good. This is really nice, and we can also get some crit elsewhere. So just with like front lines and emergency measures, we can get crit capped, which is awesome. We're also going to be using double cooldown mods, triple crit mods. We don't need skill insight once again, and then focus on chill for the chill skill power and skill cooldown. Now, the last two mods here are empty because they kind of depend on what you get on your your ancestor mod. I got really lucky and got a ancestor mod just to drop with some of the things that I was looking for. But on your Ancestor mod, the two priorities you're going to be really looking for are skill cooldown and crit damage. I unfortunately have negative chill skill power on mine, so not ideal. But getting cooldown on this is super, super nice because we really want to be cooldown capped. With cooldown roll, you'll see that I've got 12-second cooldown on my 4th, which is super nice. 3 seconds on my buff, 6 seconds on our AoE group, which is massive, plus 1.5 seconds on the 1. So getting cooldown on an Ancestor mod, I think, is your #1 priority, with crit damage being your #2. Now, for this other mod, this kind of depends on your Transcendent mod. You have a few options. If you don't have enough cooldown or don't have a Transcendent mod, you could use Focus on Fusion. Focus on Fusion is not great on her, to be honest, for this build, simply because modifier values are additive and her values are so high that, like, this doesn't do all that much, but it does give you extra cooldown. So not using that. If you're don't have great rolled components, or if you don't get anywhere crit chance anywhere else, you could technically go Skill Insight. It's absolutely not needed because we are crit capped. So what I'm using is Amplification Control. This, once again, is a mobbing build. We really want as much AoE as possible on her, and so going Amplification Control will allow us to cap our range, while also not requiring us to go range in our Inversion. By not going range in our Inversion, we don't need to grab this multiplier, which saves up the points to then go grab Defense Neutralization, which is massive. Once again, her specialty is like killing beefy targets, and resistance stripping is a really great way to squeak out extra damage. And so that is kind of the path that we are taking. And then our other mod is going to be Arche Concentration for stacking up extra crit damage on her. Once again, we are currently crit capped, which is super, super nice with a huge crit multiplier. It's definitely going to be a goal when you're building her, is to get crit chance cap. For the rest of the mobbing build, we're going to be rocking 4-piece Polar Knight for the extra chill skill power and stacking crit damage. On your Reactor, you're looking for skill crit damage and cooldown. For your weapon, I would hold the Hypernova. Doesn't really matter as long as it's a sword. Hypernova does have built-in chill damage, so it is a little synergistic with her, but you could kind of hold whatever weapon. The mods on your weapon do not matter. It only matters that you're holding a melee weapon. And then for the Inversion reinforcements, we're going to be rocking Spatial Dominance for extra range, Specialized Coolant Circulation for additional range and extra crit damage, and then I put on Pain Suppression for even more HP. Technically not needed, but she heals, so this is like a decent survivability upgrade. Whenever you're using your abilities, you will actually heal yourself, so more HP, more healing. This does bring a slightly over range cap for her. I don't think that's technically a bad thing, especially for mobbing, but just letting you know. For her bossing build, we're going to be using Power Beyond. For her bossing build, we're going to be using Chillbrand. Now, Chillbrand is very strong, but very much specifically for only certain targets. So what Chillbrand does is it transforms her 3rd ability into Glacial Wedge. This is kind of your real kicker for damage for single targets. We're going to have it on a 5-second cooldown. It does a bunch of base damage, but that base damage can multi-hit, and you get a percentage increase whenever you charge it. So if you charge this and then multi-hit with it on, here, grab all of these guys over here. You can see we can charge this, and then this does a ton of damage. And then we can pop our second ability. The real kicker with the second ability is it only hits one target at a time. So this is why this is such a like a single target focused build. So if I like go through all of these guys and then pop my 2, you'll note that only one of them gets the like Chillbrand damage. That's doing a ton of damage, but only to a single target, which is why this is such a like bossing focus setup. Basically, the idea is that we're going to be going through enemies with Glacial Wedge, hitting them really hard, but also applying wedge tracking. The 2 kind of detonates the wedge tracking with Chillbrand, which does tons of damage. We're gonna have this basically up, and your kind of rotation is just spamming the 3 and 2. The 4 is when it's off of cooldown, and you need to use the 1. 1 is good damage, but the real kicker with the 1 is it's gonna build up the resource that we need. If I don't have any resource, I can't use the rest of my abilities. So you're kind of using the 1 just to get your resource, do your 3, do your 4, do your 2. 1 to get more resources back, and then just back into your rotation. And that is what you're going to be doing for single target damage. For the mods on this, the main reason we're not using I forget what it's called, Icebreaker, is because this is only good once you have a lot of stacks. For bosses, you don't really have time to stack this up. So we're just going to go for the default power increase from Power Beyond, especially because we don't really have much non-specific skill power, so that is pretty nice. Build doesn't really change all that much. The big difference is we don't need range anymore because we are going to be focusing on single targets. So I'm rocking Hyper Focus. Basically, this just gives us 46% crit damage after we hit with a weapon crit. We can throw the Hypernova and proc this, and then we just get a ton of extra damage for a short amount of time. So Hyper Focus, really, really nice for single targets. The rest of the build is the exact same. The only thing that I added is skill simplification. Now, if you don't have capped cooldowns, you could use Focus on Fusion. The reason that we're adding modifier now, where we don't add modifier on the previous build, is Chill Brand, or Brand Surge is a decent bit of our damage, as well as Chill Brand. Both Chill Brand and Brand Surge are relatively low modifier abilities, so adding modifier is actually a pretty significant damage increase. If you do not have capped cooldowns, just use Focus on Fusion. I do have a lot of cooldown on my Transcendent module, so that's why I can get away with skill simplification. And once again, we don't care about any max MP loss, simply because we don't have a mana bar. For bossing, we're going to be using the Slayer set. Now, Slayer set is kind of optional for bossing, in my opinion, off of the simple fact that you lose a lot of HP by putting it on. My crit rate, personally, goes to 98% with this on, so I have crit rate on my Transcendent module, so that helps. You could rock Slayer and also go for a crit chance, go like skill insight. If your crit isn't good, if you don't have any crit on your Transcendent module, that is definitely an option. You could also still use the Polar set. Polar set's nice because it gives you extra crit damage, but it also just by default comes with a lot of HP. So Slayer does have some downsides. I do have a Transcendent module with crit chance on it, so I can still get to like basically crit cap with it on and benefit from all of the damage of the Slayer mod, but obviously that's not the easiest thing to replicate. It's going to be kind of dependent on your Transcendent module. If you can go for some extra modifier here, could also once again rock skill insight, but you really want your crit chance as high as possible. Still using the same reactor, still going to be using the Hypernova. For the inversion reinforcements, technically you don't need range for bossing, so if you wanted to, you wouldn't take off the circulation because this is still really good, but for bossing, I was rocking selective cellular stimulation just for the chance to get some extra healing during a boss fight, particularly for the new Infernal Walker. He hits pretty hard, so this is what I was rocking for the inversions for bossing, and I kept my board for Arche tuning the same for bossing. Guys, that is going to do it for the build guide. I hope you enjoyed. I will catch y'all in the next one. Take care. Peace.